Since the 1980s, medical studies have revealed that around 80% of professional ballet dancers will sustain at least one serious injury per year and a career-threatening injury before the age of 30. It begs the question, why would anyone want to enter a profession where the training itself could potentially handicap them for life at such a young age? And what kind of training is it which encourages such high rates of injury? Clearly, something is not right. Nowadays, the average ballet class has become a sports medicine-dominated arena where the law of the jungle dictates the survival of the fittest. It has even become fashionable in ballet companies to entrust the dancer's fitness to army and sports trainers. The ballet class has become a competition of physical prowess. Who can kick their leg the highest? Who can do the most turns? Who has the flattest turnout? It has very little to do with the original ideals of the art of classical ballet. Of course, it's exciting to watch a dancer spin 32 times on the spot. But what about the remaining 90 minutes you're sitting in the theatre? The intention of art is not just to entertain, but to move, to inspire, and perhaps even to change and to educate an audience. If ballet were purely a form of entertainment, it would be a sport, such as gymnastics or diving. Ballet is now perceived as an athletic art. It used to be about evoking emotions or telling a story through movement and mime. The fact is, it's easier to kick the legs up on stage than convey deep emotions. Let's draw a comparison. Music nowadays is often packaged in bright lights and sexualization, which usually has nothing to do with the music. In too many circumstances, ballet has taken a similar path. The fact is, extravagant lighting and nudity appeal to the senses, but that doesn't mean they deliver any actual ballet. In contrast to all this, the legendary ballerina Anna Pavlova didn't depend on special effects, kicking up her legs, or taking off her clothes to enchant an audience. Fascinatingly, as a young dancer, Anna Pavlova had muscle deficiencies and weak feet. If she auditioned for a ballet school today, she would almost certainly be rejected. In 1906, she met Enrico Cechetti, who took her on board and agreed to teach her privately. The result was she not only overcame her physical deficiencies, but went on to become perhaps the most renowned dancer of all time. Now, who was this magician Cechetti? Well, between 1870 and 1890, he was the most famous Italian dancer in Europe. He went on to teach at the Imperial Theatre St. Petersburg and then became ballet master at the Ballet Russe. Though lesser known, Cechetti could be called the Leonardo da Vinci of classical ballet. Just as da Vinci applied scientific methods to his art, so did Enrico Cechetti to classical ballet. It was said that you could not become a finished dancer unless you trained with him. But who were these dancers who trained under Cechetti and praised him so highly? Cecchetti's pupils included Pavlova, Nijinsky, Kasavina, Lopukova, Dolin, Markova, Preobrazhenskaya, Spesivtseva, Idzakovsky, Massin, Liffard, Niemchinova, Yegorova, Rombert, de Valois, and many more. To use a modern colloquialism, Cechetti was the big daddy of classical ballet training in the early decades of the 20th century. I'm Julie Cronshaw, a former professional dancer who has been teaching Cechetti method in London for more than 20 years. After 2 decades of teaching, it suddenly struck me that there is a scientific method behind Cecchetti's so-called days of the week. His classes are built upon 6 physical principles. These principles are actually the foundations of all classical ballet. And if you can understand and follow these simple and universal principles, they will radically change and improve the way you think and move as a dancer, no matter what system you train in. At first glance, a Cechetti class is much the same as any traditional ballet class. There is a bar, centre practice, adage, pirouettes and allegro. But Cechetti's days of the week focus on a particular series of steps and movement qualities, each day governed by a single physical principle. And these physical principles are the science behind the art of classical ballet, which, if understood and followed correctly, will regenerate rather than devour the dancer's body and mind. And the step vocabulary in Cechetti's method is so vast and contains enchaînements of such dazzling virtuosity that even the most competent dancer will be challenged to refine their technique, improve their musical awareness, and strengthen their artistic judgment. Some say that Cechetti method is full of steps that aren't done anymore because they are too difficult. But how can they be too difficult when we are told that today's dancers have more technique than ever before? When I began teaching, I came to realise that the systems I'd acquired on stage were lacking in many areas of technique and movement possibilities. Despite such huge advances in sports medicine, by continually pushing the anatomical limits of a dancer's body rather than exploring new step choreography, all that has brought us is an avalanche of injuries. Some even insist that ballet is dead and that we must blend contemporary dance with acrobatics, which are more appealing to public taste. I disagree. Fashions in choreography come and go, but a method based on universal principles is timeless. In a search for a more complete form of artistic ballet training for the professional dancer, one that is efficient, anatomically safe, and exercises every muscle in the body, I looked to Cechetti for the answers, and I found them. It's a method that holds the key to unlocking the secrets of a truly beautiful classical ballet technique. Cechetti's method not only trains a dancer to the highest technical and artistic levels, but also increases cardiovascular fitness and allows a dancer to maintain a healthy body and mind throughout their career and beyond. So, let's go on a journey to discover the physical principles of classical ballet through what Cechetti called his days of the week. What are physical principles? As with any major art form, for something to work, for a statue to stand or for paint to remain on canvas and not slide off it, for a dancer to move with ideal stability, harmony and balance, whatever is being done must correspond to physical reality and natural law. For this film, I sought out 2 dancers, one male and one female. Each of them had just 1 week to work with me on these physical principles. Muriel Walter came out of retirement as a former soloist with Britain's Royal Ballet. We filmed her exercises at the Moving East studio in London. Salvatore Nicolosi, currently with the Pfalztheater Kaiserslautern in Germany, trained at the Hamlin School in Florence under Nicoletta Santoro. At the Hamlin School's invitation, we filmed his exercises in their magnificent studios. So, here is an outline of the physical principles at work. Let's start with Monday, les assemblées, which is all about the principle of aplomb. The plumb line is a phrase originally used by builders and architects to establish a vertical line through the centre of gravity. In an assemblée, from the 5th position plié, the dancer moves one leg away to jump into the air. He then assembles both legs together in the air before landing again in 5th. Hence the term assemblée. Let's look at what the rest of the body's doing while standing in the 5th position. In Cecchetti's day, and for the first generation after, aplomb meant the line that runs down through the centre of the body, holding the centre of gravity directly over that line, down the back of the front leg and the front of the back leg in the 5th position. When dancers disengaged the gesture leg from the 5th position, they did not shift their body weight towards the ball of the standing leg like they do today, but remained securely on that line of aplomb. The dancer is then lifted upwards off the supporting leg using deep postural muscles in the torso. Épaulement maintains the body in dynamic opposition about this line of aplomb. It's easy to dismiss the notion of standing on the aplomb because, it's argued, how can you disengage the foot from 5th position without shifting the weight onto the ball of the foot? But that shift makes the bar work redundant. The weight of the whole body is supported on the standing leg, making it much harder to counter the downward pull of gravity. Eventually, this produces strain through the whole body as more force is needed to push off the floor. For Cechetti, all movement begins in the body and not in the feet and legs. As a dancer learns to stand in their centre rather than on their legs, the body leads and then the feet follow. From day one, Cechetti insisted the body hold the shapes in opposition with the help of the bar. These uncomplicated exercises aim to get the dancers ready for jumping. This ballet bar is not about choreography. Understanding and applying the notion of aplomb is the first principle of classical ballet, and precisely why Cechetti starts his days of the week with les assemblées. So, to summarize, Monday's principle is aplomb, or standing in the vertical.
Mi ricordo di un ballerino solista di una grande compagnia americana, non dirò il nome.
Okay.
Qualcuno le ha chiesto 7-8 anni fa, no 10 anni fa, e lei ha preso delle lezioni Cechetti e lui disse sì, ne ho preso una o due, ma troppo difficile
Sì, ci credo.
e non vale la pena.
Non vale la pena. No, troppo difficile, non che non vale la pena, è troppo difficile, quindi è frustrante. Lo è spesso per questi ragazzi, infatti quello che diceva prima anche la signora Santoro, è un po' un amore e odio quello per Cechetti, per gli allievi, perché comunque sono a livello pre-professionale, quindi seguono un corso che li fa sentire quasi ballerini, e quando si propone loro degli esercizi così difficili spesso si scoraggiano e pensano ok, allora non potrò essere ballerino, non so fare il ballo, non potrò arrivare all'obiettivo, e invece, e questo purtroppo andrebbe cambiata la mentalità dei ballerini, anche del ballerino di cui lei parla, perché non si raggiungono gli obiettivi da oggi a domani con una lezione molto lungo e approfondito per arrivare a quel prodotto.
Tuesday is all about épaulement, and Cechetti steps on Tuesday are les petits battements. The key to Tuesday is épaulement, also known as contrapposto, or opposition in the body. Moving outwards from a quiet centre, the dancer creates stable shapes with dynamic potential. Man is designed to move in opposition. In walking, you swing your arms, right arm backwards as the right leg steps forward, and so on. The notion of opposition develops logically from standing in and using the aplomb. Opposition is activated about the body with the support from the postural muscles deep within the torso. Épaulement expresses the least action principle. This is where you use the least possible amount of energy to produce the greatest possible action. On Tuesdays, Cechetti focused on enchaînements that skim the floor, like the jeté battement, and the steps with this quality. With the head held erect, eyes gazing straight out towards the audience, the dancer moves forward, often along a straight line. The body oscillates gently about the central axis, and the feet and legs fly along the floor, in counterpoint to the beautiful but strictly functional épaulement in the upper body. To Cechetti, épaulement was no mere decoration. The head is the culminating point of a spiral. Ornamental as it looks, épaulement is always functional. It's the natural opposition of the human machine in action. And that is why Cechetti dedicated his Tuesday class to the study of this fundamental physical principle. So, to summarize, Tuesday's principle is épaulement, or opposition about the vertical. On Wednesday, the principle is about turnout and amplification, and Cecchetti's steps are les ronds de jambes. From the moment the dancer begins to turn out in the first position and extends the heels forward, natural spirals already present in the body begin to manifest. Here we find the shapes held in opposition through épaulement, travelling out to their extremities using the action of moving en dehors, or to the outside in French, initiated by the front of the torso. Then they return to the centre using the action of en dedans, or going inside, from the back of the torso. Turnout allows amplification and stabilisation of the forms. Rotation is in the arms, legs, hands and feet. All is beautiful to look at, but still functional. There are definite shades of emotion here. En dehors shapes are more extrovert. En dedans shapes are more introspective. Cechetti saw turnout as a functional, technical tool, not a visual effect. He never demanded the toe to heel, flat turned out fifth position we see everywhere today. In the Cechetti fifth position, the front foot's heel touches the back foot's toe joint. The purpose of turnout is technical and theatrical. It was invented to stabilize the lower body and free the torso and arms for expression. For Cechetti, turnout concerns the entire body, not just the hips, knees and feet. Therefore, Cecchetti's enchaînement cannot be done well with an overcrossed fifth.
My name is Muriel Walter. I was first soloist with the Royal Ballet for 15 years. Now I am a full-time ballet teacher in Montreal. It came actually as a shock to discover how difficult the exercises were. I've heard some people say that it was very historic and should be stayed in a museum, but I think actually the method is very relevant to today. And it's very anatomically sound.
So, to summarise, Wednesday's principle is turnout, understanding the relationship between en dehors and en dedans.
You manifested a pretty scientific mind. And is there something in particular about Cechetti that attracts you at this stage?
Yes, there is. Mostly just that I'm curious in many mediums as to what the origins are of that medium. Even I think I was saying to Julie the other day, the origins of language would be, as I know it, somebody gets hurt, they stub a toe, they go, and it hurts. They taste something that's nice, they go, and eventually these things develop into a form of communication. And ballet, there are different schools of ballet with different thought, but the origin I'm interested in, and it appears to me that Cechetti seems very steeped in, similarly to language, it's the feeling. If you feel a certain way, you react a certain way. If you're depressed, you go like that. If you're happy, you jump for joy, also, as Julie said. So I'm curious about that, because I'm curious as to what is ballet, where did it come from, what is it really expressing? So in that regard, Cechetti seems to be tied in with the origin of the art form anyway.
So far, we've seen how the first three principles of aplomb, épaulement and turnout apply to the dancer as a mechanism standing in space. The principles of the next 3 days, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, apply to the dancer moving in space. Hello, I hope you're enjoying Ballet Secret Code. We're halfway through exploring Cecchetti's days of the week, a good time for a brief intermission and a quick word about the amazing side project we've been working on. You see, in preparation for making this film, we rehearsed over 70 exercises, and so we decided to put them all together into a single online package, complete with hours of commentary, technical tips, interviews and more. Stay tuned after the film is over to learn about this extremely unique collection and the official website www.balletsecretcode.com. But shh, keep it to yourself. It's a secret. And now, back to the film. Thursday is about légèreté, weight transfer. Whether amplified outwards, moving en dehors, or gathered inwards, moving en dedans, jetés are about weight transfer in the air, forwards, backwards, sideways. The dancer draws arcs in the air. This frees up a vaster dimension of expression.
La danza di oggi, che sta diventando una ginnastica danzata, ha oltrepassato i limiti, secondo me, anche del buon gusto, oltre che spesso andare contro i fisici dei nostri allievi. Sono dei modelli che non possono rispecchiare tutti gli allievi, non tutti gli allievi possono essere in grado di fare certe cose. Pensano che la danza è la gamba oltre 180 gradi, la danza è il piede oltre la punta, la danza è 50 pirouette. No, la danza è qualcos'altro, la danza è l'artisticità di un ballerino, la danza è la forma, la danza è l'anima di un ballerino, non è la quantità di cose che si fanno, mettendo spesso a rischio i loro fisici, perché ripeto, non tutti i fisici possono supportare, sostenere determinate eccessive ampliature delle posizioni, ecco, quindi si sta portando la danza a delle estremità che vanno contro l'artisticità.
So, to summarize, on Thursday, the physical principle is about transference of weight. On Friday, the dancer uses the aerial plane, or hanging in the air, and Cechetti steps include battery, that's beaten steps of the legs, and point work. Here, as with the jeté, the shapes are lifted onto another plane, the space above the dancer's head. For the ballerina, suspension is achieved by point work, invented by those pioneering women of the 19th century, who sought to explore the furthest limits of movement and balance on the tips of their toes. In the second half of the 19th century, Italian ballet shoemakers invented what we would recognize to be the modern-day point shoe. They hardened the box and stiffened the shank to allow for multiple turns, hops and balances on one leg. The Italian school insists upon a slight spring or spalzo onto point. This places the feet right beneath the torso on the line of aplomb and avoids clambering or pushing up. This reduces the strain on the feet, and instead the dancer appears to descend lightly onto their toes. Applying the least action principle again, this technique releases greater expressive potential. For both man and woman, the Friday class of Cechetti focuses on a scintillating display of battery that asks them to stay longer in the air than would otherwise be possible. The Friday class includes both grande batterie and terre-à-terre batterie. So, to summarize, Friday is the principle of the aerial plane, hanging in the air. Finally, we come to Saturday, and Cechetti steps are les grands fouettés sautés, the physical principle of ballon, or bouncing like a ball. dancer uses ballon to maintain the first jump's momentum. As he shifts direction in the air, he bounces like a ball from one step to the next. It all seems effortless and inexhaustible, and he jumps to convey an emotion. He jumps for joy. On Saturdays, Cechetti unleashes all the physical principles studied throughout the week. These combinations are the most challenging and diverse of all the 6 days, calling for a mastery of dynamics, speed, change of direction, and use of all the spatial planes. So, to summarise, Saturday is the principle of ballon, or bouncing. These 6 physical principles are the foundations of all classical ballet. Cecchetti's method can be learned by any dancer. It does not require superhuman physical peculiarities such as hyperflexibility, nor can it be danced well when applying undue force. But it does call for strength and great skill, or what the French term l'adresse. Cecchetti's method allows the artist to master his profession by studying a technique designed for the theatre. It is an expressive technique, and a technique which is biomechanically sound. Cechetti works within, not beyond, man's anatomical limits. Classical ballet is a tool of thought and emotion. Cechetti created his method to transmit these thoughts and emotions into a training which he called the days of the week.
Actually, I didn't know about Cechetti before, and in the beginning, as a student, I didn't have really good relationship. It was really heavy, hard, and strong method. But now, as professional dancer, I think I'm really lucky to have this base. As long that you study that, it is in your body, you can always use as a dancer, as choreographer, as teacher, for everything.
Well, I was always interested to explore the Cechetti method. I've been exposed to a lot of methods, and I think anyway to study any kind of method can empower you and enrich you for what you do. And I'm now a teacher, so I am very humble about learning and getting richer. Having said that, the more I studied the Cechetti method, the more I realized that it was based on very anatomical principles, but also it would develop also the artist within you. So it's very human, rooted. So I just feel it's just a very complete.
Cechetti seems to have operated on the basis of three notions: cycles, repetition, and variation. Each family of steps returns in cycles. On Monday, the dancer revisits les assemblées. On Tuesday, they return to les petits battements, and so on. There's no question of a difficult step disappearing never to be seen again. It will come back in a week, and then another week's time. However, contrary to common belief, when Cechetti himself taught, he didn't repeat the exact same exercises week in, week out, year in, year out. Although he never altered the principles, he did alter specific details to suit his dancers' needs. Another major point is this: in most other methods, only young children repeat the simplest basics at the bar every day. Not so Cechetti. He believed that accuracy in the most essential exercises tends to wear away over time, so these exercises must also be repeated. And lastly, variation. Just as in classical music, where a composer adapts or modifies a basic musical theme to create any number of increasingly complex variations upon it, so this is the same with Cecchetti's days of the week. The daily step themes are uncomplicated, but the possible variations are infinite. Thanks to the repetition and cyclic returns, the dancer has time to develop a mastery and control of those variations on the original step themes. These are the details that make the difference between art and sport, and this brings endless opportunities for new choreography. The days of the week are something else too. Cecchetti's specific answer to the question of how to take an exhausted group of professionals and get them on their feet for the evening's performance. Even the Ballet Russe dancers insisted that Diaghilev take Cechetti with them on tour. To Cechetti, company class was both a warm-up and a way to improve one's technique. His method, which fosters perfect coordination, nuanced dynamics, and choreographic invention, produces dancing which, as Fokine said, appeals not merely to the eye, but to the emotions and the imagination. The artist will dance with more grace, less strain, and fewer injuries throughout their career, without artificiality or the need for gymnastics that has in recent years obscured the intrinsic power and beauty of classical ballet. So, if you want to continue dancing for as long as you can, what do you prefer to do? Training that devours the body, or a method that regenerates and strengthens it into maturity? You can change your belief that the more pain you feel, the better a dancer you will be. Your body is your instrument. A violinist wouldn't trash their Stradivarius, so why would you trash your body? Nowadays, every movement is not always seeking stability, harmony, and balance, and the tragedy is not that of artistic perfection, but of physical harm. Finally, Cechetti gives the dance maker a treasure chest of steps, and to this day untapped potential. His method covers virtually the entire step vocabulary of classical ballet. That is why he had such an influence on Frederick Ashton, Anthony Tudor, Leonid Massine, and Serge Lifar. Cechetti allows the dance maker to create step-rich choreography for a new generation of dancers, where the goal is not a six-pack nor a 6 o'clock penché, but ultimate artistic perfection. So give heed, aspiring dance makers. By touching the imagination, Cecchetti's method, his days of the week, will foster new innovation in choreography and will surely prove a training not of the past, but of the future. Thank you for watching Ballet Secret Code. In this film, I've only been able to show you a glimpse of Cecchetti's genius. There is so much more behind the scenes footage, and we've now put it together for you. Many of the exercises and interviews we filmed didn't make the final cut, but they are all now available on balletsecretcode.com. Included are more than 150 videos with commentaries explaining the Cechetti technique and style, historical insights and relevance to today's classical repertoire, and a dozen interviews with the dancers, crew and teachers from the Hamlin Ballet School in Florence. So if you're curious about Cechetti and want to learn more, you'll find a special collection of content and know-how in Behind the Scenes at balletsecretcode.com. If you enjoyed the film, you'll love what you find there. Thank you for watching.